Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Melissa and this is Melissa's Kitchen. And today we're going to learn how to cut a whole chicken into pieces. So the first thing you need is you need a butcher's knife, or you can use a meat cleaver, either one, whichever one you prefer. And then you also need a cutting board, which is what I have right here. A wooden cutting board is okay, but some people prefer plastic. Plastic is perfectly fine. It just helps keep things from getting messy on the surface. So using a cutting board is really ideal. So the first thing I like to do is start with the wing. And what you want to do is you want to manipulate the chicken the way you want it. And you want to pull on the joint a little bit like this. One thing to bear in mind is that a chicken does have what's called fat lines. They're little yellowish white lines that kind of run along the body. Oftentimes the fat lines are the areas that give you landmarks to know where to cut. So we're going to start with this wing. Now I'm going to pull on this a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to gently make a cut. Let me see if I can manipulate it a little bit better so you can see. There we go. So I'm kind of cutting at the joint here. As a rule of thumb, you want to make sure the ball of the joint goes with the part of the chicken that you're trying to cut away. So I'm going to just kind of pull it up like this, and I kind of pop the bone there. All right, that's the chicken wing right there. You want to pull up like this. Cut along this line right here. There we go. Cut along the line here, cut along. And it's important that you manipulate the chicken the way you want it to go and don't rearrange yourself for the chicken. So in other words, you want to position the chicken in a way that will make it easier for you to cut. There you go. And I'm going to cut this little joint off. There we go. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to go for the thigh. So I just kind of separated a little bit. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a white fat line right here. I'm just going to cut along this right here. There we go. Just cut along the fat line. There we go. And it easily separates from the rest of the body when you cut it along the fat line. Just cutting the skin here. There we go. Now I'm going to pop the joint out. There we go. And again, the joint needs to go with the part of the chicken that you're cutting away. Okay, and then here is the thigh and the leg, which is a chicken quarter. I plan on frying some chicken, so I'm actually going to cut these two pieces separately so that I have a drumstick and a thigh. So, but I'll put this to the side for now. Do the same with the other one. Okay, there's a really thick white fat line right here. I don't know if you can see, it's right here. You're going to want to cut along that line. So I'm going to just gently cut right there, and it cuts very easily. Okay, once I've cut through it a little bit, I'm going to pop the joint out, just like this. Grab it from this side. I'm going to cut along here actually. Sometimes the skin does connect it to the rest of the chicken, so you have to make sure that you really cut the skin. Okay, again, I'm going to pull. There we go. Pop the joint. Joint needs to go with the part of the chicken that you're cutting away. So we're going to cut right here. And again, I'm holding this chicken the way I want to hold it. And I'm moving it around to suit me, not the other way around. I'm not moving around for the chicken. And you're cutting outside of the bone here. There you go. If you need to manipulate it, do what you need to do. Flip it upside down, turn it around, do whatever you need to do. Chicken drumstick, thigh. Again, we're going to cut those two separately in a little bit, but for right now, we're going to focus on some other things. Okay. So all this stuff at the bottom, even though it can be very flavorful right here, this part, I'm actually going to cut this away because this isn't really a part of a chicken that you can fry. So I'm going to put this to the side and cut it off. Get rid of this. I'm going to show you. I'm cutting this off. There we go. Okay, so you have the top part, which is going to be the breast, and you actually have the backbone, which is not really good for frying chicken or any chicken parts, but it is good to make bone broth out of and to make chicken stock. So I'm actually going to separate the backbone at this point. So if I were to stand it up like this is the whole breast and this is the backbone. I can just cut this in half, okay? I can just cut this tissue through the middle like this, and I'm cutting away the backbone. You are going to cut into some ribs, and that's fine. Just kind of aim toward the back to get the backbone off. There you go. All right. Just cutting down the middle here to get rid of all this. Okay. Some people use kitchen shears or kitchen scissors. You can use that as well, or you can use a knife or a meat cleaver, whatever your preference is. So I'm going to just kind of cut toward the bottom here. Yeah. And cut here. Just separating this whole piece off. There we go. Sorry, the cutting is probably not as pretty as some other people would do. I'm not a professional butcher. I just know how to work in the kitchen. So do the best I can. So here's the whole breast. Now what you could do is just cut it down the middle and have 2 big breast pieces. Because I'm frying chicken, my personal preference is that I like to actually cut the breast in half so that I have 4 relatively small to medium sized breast pieces. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to just cut down the middle like this, just straight down the middle. I'm trying to save the skin here. There we go. Just cutting straight down the middle. There we go. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to cut 2 breast pieces in the middle here. This is actually a really big breast. This is a smaller breast. Again, I'm kind of making multiple pieces of breast. I'm not just cutting the breast in half. And then here's a breast. Here's a breast that happened to not have any skin. And so I'm gonna go ahead and cut my, my quarters. So for the first one here, there's a fat line. I don't know if you can see it, but it's actually, sorry, let me just clean this off a bit. There's a fat line right here in between the drumstick and the thigh, so I'm going to cut along that. And just kind of cut along this line here. Skin can get a little tough. There we go. Drumstick. This is a thigh. Cutting along the fat line, again the yellow line. Got the skin. Okay. So here's a thigh, here's a thigh, here's a leg, here's a leg, here's a breast, here's a breast, here's another piece of breast, here's a chicken wing, Here's another breast piece that I cut, and here's another wing. So what I'm going to do is I am going to fry some chicken, and it is going to have a Tabasco sauce, buttermilk, and Old Bay seasoning base to it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to marinate the chicken, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 1 cup of buttermilk, 3 tablespoons of Tabasco sauce, and I'm going to use 3 tablespoons of Old Bay seasoning. Old Bay seasoning, I live on the East Coast. It's a very popular seasoning in our region, and it's used for seafood, chicken, and fish. And so it's hard to explain it. It's a very savory seasoning. It's not overly spicy, but it definitely has a very distinctive taste if you live on the Eastern Seaboard and you've had some Old Bay seasoning. Very popular in Maryland. I think that's where it's originally from. So I am going to mix a cup of buttermilk, 3 tablespoons of the Tabasco sauce, and I'm actually going to marinate the chicken with it. So here, I've already made my marinade. I just wanted to show you everything so you could see what the ingredients were. So I'm actually going to marinate the chicken. I'm going to marinate 2 pieces. I'm going to use, let me see. Okay. I'm going to use a breast and a thigh here. And you can actually marinate in advance if you want. The longer you marinate, the more flavorful the chicken is going to be. So I'm going to just marinate like this. And you can see right here, the chicken already has a really nice coating. Very flavorful with the Tabasco sauce, buttermilk. Oh, and I also used a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper to make a really nice marinade. Now what we're going to do is we're going to batter it. And what I have in here is actually 1 cup of all-purpose flour, as well as 3 tablespoons of the Old Bay seasoning. So the Old Bay seasoning I mix with the flour to make a nice coating. The Tabasco sauce, salt and pepper, and buttermilk are going to be the marinade. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this chicken in here. Not very fancy at all, just throwing it in a bag of flour and Old Bay seasoning. And what you want to do is you want to shake it up. Sometimes you need to fold over the bag just so that flour doesn't come shooting out of the bag. Now your chicken is battered and it's ready to go. So we're going to actually put this chicken in my air fryer. It's going to cook at 39 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 minutes. I'm going to set it to 390 for 25 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and pull on this right here. And I'm going to put my chicken in. So here's 1 piece. Here's another piece. Make sure they don't stick together. Ooh, sorry. So 2 pieces right there. And another piece right here. So I have 4 pieces of the marinated and battered chicken in my air fryer. I'm going to close it. I'm going to set it to 25 minutes at 390. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. So I have set my air fryer to 390 degrees, and it is going to air fry for 25 minutes. Okay, so this is our finished product. I had fried 4 pieces of chicken at the same time in my air fryer. My air fryer is, I believe it's 5 quarts, and it has a divider. So it allows me to be able to fry multiple pieces of chicken. I think the maximum I can fry at one time is 4. So this is the finished product. I set it for 390 degrees and it air fried for 25 minutes. And so this is a really nice and simple recipe if you want to do something really nice and quick for the family. And this easily feeds 2 to 4 people depending on how many pieces of chicken you want to eat. So I'm really satisfied with how this came out. I'll be honest with you, this was the first time that I tried out this recipe. I found it online for air frying recipes. So I think I'm going to be using my air fryer a lot more because I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I kind of grew up, well, not kind of, but I grew up in a Southern family where we deep fried our chicken. So I was a little skeptical about how the chicken was going to turn out in the air fryer. But I have to admit that I'm pleasantly surprised and impressed. So this concludes my video on how to cut up a whole chicken into pieces and to fry it. This is a Old Bay seasoned Tabasco sauce buttermilk fried chicken that I got online, the recipe I got online. So this concludes my video. Bye for now.